part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Whistles it down to the 35. Ginn to the middle. Great speed. Look out. They won't touch him. One man to beat. Touchdown, Ohio State.
Ginn, he thought Holmes was going to step over. Then he makes the catch on it. Ginn swings free. Look out now. Can Finley get an angle? Down the sideline. Forget about it. This baby's over, this race.
The Browns. Second down, powering ahead. Great fake. Wide open. Ginn. Touchdown, Ohio State.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Sabol Brothers on the Baseline Podcast right here on the Press Play Podcast Network. I'm one of your hosts, John Sabol.
And I'm the other host, Scott Sabol.
Thanks for tuning in. We've got a intriguing and special guest tied to the Cleveland area and, of course, to Ohio State football as we approach this weekend. If you're tuning in before the Thanksgiving Day weekend, we're talking about the game, Ohio State, Michigan. And if you're tuning in post-game, we're going to talk a lot about NFL football as well and his career. Our guest is a Cleveland legend in the high school ranks, NFL ranks as well, and then his Ohio State ranks. None other than Ted Ginn Jr. We've had his father on, Ted Ginn Sr. last year, Scott. Can you believe it?
I know. It was crazy. Yeah, I remember talking to his dad. But so inspirational talking to his dad. And the first father-son duo we've had in our podcast.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I've got to know Ted Ginn Sr. a little bit, covering high school football here. And Ted Ginn Jr. joins us. Teddy, man, we appreciate you joining us and taking the time here on this holiday weekend to talk football with us.
Oh, no doubt. Anytime, man. Anytime I get to talk about me, Buckeyes, Glenville, all in the same row, you got my attention.
Well, let's get right into it real quick here. As we approach here to this weekend here, your alma mater and your dad's team, Glenville's facing an impressive feat here, trying to go back-to-back state champions here. What do you think how the Tar Butters going to do this weekend?
It's just all about how we do throughout the week. It's a choppy week for us, being Thanksgiving. It's not a normal week. I've been through that as a football player, especially in the NFL. But just taking on the week and getting through the week. Not getting too full, but that shouldn't matter. But just seeing how our week goes is the big thing. Being from the inner city, don't have the real resources. Just really taking on what we can take on. It's always a challenge week in and week out, but Glenville is at a point right now where I don't think no team can beat us. I think we beat ourselves, and that all starts, like I said at the beginning of this, it all starts at the beginning of the week, and the things that you do throughout the week will help you win the ball game. And that's just, I'm a fair believer of that, and with them going on the road that they've been on this year and the ups and downs that they have, going from 15-0 last year to, losing 3 games this year. It's been a up and down situation, but we already knew that we got a 6-week program that we got to put together and accomplish. And we're 4 weeks in right now, and we're moving at the such as we want it. And we're just going to enjoy and just keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. I remember, talking to your dad, my brother and I, and, initially he's such a soft-spoken guy, but then you can kind of see there's that intensity behind that. And he has that magnetic personality. When you talk to him, you can't help but listen, at least as an outsider. How was it having him as your dad growing up, and what did you learn from him? If you could pick 1 or 2 things that you learned from him that you took, in your career going forward, what were those?
One was just learn how to listen. My dad can really go. He can really talk. So the biggest thing is learning how to listen. And that made me be able to go and take on the things that I took on at The Ohio State University, and then be able to be a 14-year retired NFL player was all about learning how to listen, learning how to speak when spoken to. And that actually plays a part in being a team player, knowing when to say things and knowing when not to say things, and listening to what's going on around you to know how to move. That's the biggest thing that he always taught me was to be observant, and when you come in a room, the loud person is not always the person that you want to be. And sometimes the quiet person is not always the person that you want to be. But a person that know how to control the room in his own way is the person that you wanted to be. So I just always try to be that person that come in and control the room in a way that I know how, and half of it is listening and half of it is talking. And I think that's the purpose in life, and with him being my dad and seeing him start this thing as I was a kid, and I'm talking about not 1997, I'm talking about 85, 86. 87, I can remember 88 teams, you know what I'm saying, and guys who played on that and what the JV teams look like. I can remember that. I was a mascot at one point in time. So just having him and seeing what he has built, from 79 since he came out of Glenville in 74, just to really see what he was building. My whole goal was to be the best high school player for him. Be the best high school player for Glenville. You know what I'm saying? So I could just leave my name on there. I didn't know that it was going to turn out for me to be one of the best players at The Ohio State University and have my share time in the NFL as being an elite player. But it was all about just making him proud and just leaving a stamp around my community that I was raised on. I was raised on Glenville football. I was raised on the community of Glenville, to see where it's at right now. I hate it, you know what I'm saying? But that's why I'm here and trying to work as hard as I can to be able to, change that narrative that we don't have goods where we at and we have greats. And I'm one of them people that, they could say, oh, he was supposed to be a hamburger flipper. No, I end up, going to college and, making a couple dollars, and that's all we try to do here is just try to give the future a chance. And right now, our society is not giving the future a chance. And we'll just take the game of football or or track or basketball and just help, drive this kid to one of their goals that they're trying to reach in life and change the family.
Ted, you just said that like hamburger flipper or people may have labeled people or you or other classmates like that. When you hear that as such a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid, how much does that drive you to I don't necessarily dismay their opinions, but just to prove them wrong?
Well, I think right now it's too late. By the time you're 17, 18, the kids is kind of like almost close to almost succeeding what they're saying. You know what I'm saying? Their opportunities is almost coming out. I was in the 5th grade when somebody told me I was going to be a hamburger flipper. What's that, 10, 11 years old? The different timing of where I could change that narrative. Now at 18, it's hard to go change that narrative because I done played around for 4 or 5 years, where at 14, if I get told I'm going to be a hamburger flipper, but now at 18, I can change it. But at 18, it's just so hard because your next step, you don't have the support system that you have from 14 or from 10 or from 8 to 10 or whatever that teenage years are, the younger years are. You don't have that support system. You know what I'm saying? Once I turn 18, I start turning into the man that I'm supposed to be or the man that I want to be. And then that hurts my support system in some type of way because I don't listen. Then I feel like I don't have to listen. You know what I'm saying? And that support system going to always be there no matter how old you get. And that's something that I had to learn and something that I carry with me to The Ohio State or to the NFL was, without my mom and my dad, my wife, my kids, some of my best friends that I have right now, without their say, I can't really be who I am because they always keep me on the right path. That's my support system. So when I feel like I did everything right, and I think I did everything right, I got somebody there that can check me or tell me what I did wrong, where I can accept it. And that's what's going on with these kids nowadays is the acceptance of being wrong or the acceptance of changing the way of what somebody feel with you.
Did you have a difficult time adjusting from going from being a successful football player at college, then the NFL, then to retirement? I know a lot of players have that hard adjustment. How was the adjustment for you overall?
Well, like I said, leaving out of high school, I went from one household to the same household. That was so good about going to the Ohio State University and having a guy like Jim Tressel there that, a lot of coaches say certain things and change up once you get on campus. One thing for me, I can really say that nobody never really changed up. If anything, I did. You know what I'm saying? And that was for the betterment of me, but that was the biggest thing about really picking my school. I had Michigan, I had USC, I had Miami, I had all the top schools that you would want to go to. But after football, while I'm playing football, the support system that I had with the Ohio State University, you can see how it carried long term with my high school. You get what I'm saying? And that's all I wanted to do was open a door for the next person. So for me to be 20 years out of high school and then 17 years out of college to see a little kid like Bryce West that's my nephew, my cousin, like we grew up together. Like I watched him at 6 and at 5, and we raced every time he seen me. And, we played and I bought him something to eat. He bought me something to eat. Like just see him now transitioning to going to the Ohio State and following the path after a guy like me or Troy Smith or Dante Whitner, Curtis Terry, guys that really started it, Jamario O'Neal. To see young guys like that actually had their hands on us, be able to step doors in the same doors that we in. That's what it's all about.
It's kind of cool to see a kid like that, Bryce West, cornerback, rated as a 4 or 5 star recruit out of Glenville to go to Ohio State or verbally commit. I know he can't sign yet here as we record this here on November 22nd, but it looks like he's going to go to, your alma mater. But like, that's kind of cool to see that though, like kids that you mentor and talk to that want to go to the school that maybe they grew up rooting for, or someone they look up to like you that went there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the stable of what Ohio State means to me. You know what I'm saying? That they took me in for who I am to open up doors for my youth or for my people, for my area. I think that's what you pick a school for. You know what I'm saying? I think you just don't pick a school just to go play football. If you could play football, then the school is I ain't gonna say nothing, but you it's half of the battle. You get what I'm saying? But I needed to go to Ohio State for the betterment of me, my family, where I come from, and I was an Ohio State guy. You get what I'm saying? I rooted for Ohio State my whole life. I'd seen nothing but a silver helmet. You know what I'm saying? And I could just remember going back, I want to say, 2003? No, 2002. Might have been, 2001. My freshman year. I remember going to the Ohio State game, and Dawson was playing, and it was right on the 50. We set us right on the 50 of this game. My father just looked down at me and was just like, "Can you play with them guys?" And at that time, I didn't have no other answer but yeah, not knowing that, that was the biggest of the biggest of the highest stage of college. I didn't know that at that time. I'm just so locked in with my dad and the movement that he got going on. I would have ran through a brick wall for him if he would have told me to. You get what I'm saying? So,
and you still would,
for sure. You know what I'm saying? And to really make that dream come true, and both of us sitting there not really knowing what we really saying to each other. You get what I'm saying? We step on that 50 and do what I do and be a captain and do a coin toss and spring games and, just all the stuff that comes with being in that shoe, it's just been a blessing.
How has your relationship with your dad changed or stayed the same now that you have already finished up your career and now you're coming back to your hometown? Does he still kind of Does he still kind of say things the same way that he did when you were 16? You're like, oh, that's dad, or is it a little different now?
Oh yeah, he's still the same guy. And I think that's where they get misconstrued by he's still the same guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? If he changed, then this thing is totally screwed. You get what I'm saying? So with him being the stable and being real to his tradition of how he do things, you know what I'm saying? It just makes me just fall back in line. You get what I'm saying? Because
Sure.
now I can see what is really going on. You get what I'm saying? And half of the time is you just don't believe in what he's saying. And the difference of 20 years ago is we believed everything he said. Even if it was right or wrong, you still believed it. Like, you get what I'm saying? And you went out and you tried it for the betterment of you. You didn't try it because it worked for him, or you didn't try it because it worked for her. You tried it because it worked for you. And then if it didn't work for you, he had to figure out another way for it to work, or you figure out a way for it to work to make it go. But everybody that stayed down with the plan, you see them. They shining. Everybody that went away from the plan, you see what's going on. That's the best way that I can put it, is I always been a plan guy, but I did it my way. You get what I'm saying? And that's where these kids these days have to figure out, is how to be the plan guy, but you still have to do it your way, because everybody can't do it the same. Y'all two talk show people. Y'all don't talk the same. Y'all don't act the same. Y'all don't do nothing, but y'all show is great. You get what I'm saying? So it's the same way with a player. Like, every player don't run the slant the same way. So that's why that quarterback has to figure out how to throw it. You get what I'm saying? And that never changed.
Sure.
So pops never changed in a sense.
Yeah, it's been a joy and a pleasure and an honor to get to know your dad a little bit the last few years since I've been back to Cleveland and covering Glenville and talking with him. And I know my brothers talked with him a few times. We had him on the podcast, and he is just a wealth of knowledge, but a guy that has so many different life messages that no matter where you are in your life or where your career or where you grew up, you can take those life messages and apply it to your current life. And it is just so valuable to people. And I'm so glad to see Glenville last year win the state title and win the state title in track. And they always have been, and to see your dad get the recognition that he deserves on the field, but off the field, I think it's just been even bigger.
And on top of that, John, he talked about, he had health issues too, and he still stayed positive. I mean, with all that, I mean, that's there's something to be said there.
Absolutely.
Well, it's part of the journey. You know what I'm saying? And the type of guy that he is, I just think that if it ain't no one or two step backs to have the forward, you know what I'm saying, he wouldn't be who he is. And just to see him on that health journey, you know what I'm saying? I was in the prime of my career. I was on the way to a Super Bowl, where a Super Bowl only football that he's seen that year. That's the only game that he went to. And that's a blessing of me. That's the only blessing that I could have gave him that year, because my job didn't allow me to go spend 90 days with him in a hospital.
It's routed that way.
My job didn't allow me to go and care for him like a son supposed to. My job didn't give me the opportunity to just go lay eyes on him until they did. And they really calling me in for him to be on his deathbed. And then when I get in there, he all cut up and wide open. And the only person that he can see is me and his doctor at the time, who went to Wisconsin. So I was so happy that he was a Big Ten guy. But, he came out and he said, I've been around your dad for the last 67, however many days he been in there. He couldn't really recognize a lot of people. But when you walked in, for him to be able to recognize you like that, you get what I'm saying? That was just the only blessing that I could do. And I didn't tell anybody I was coming. Me and my wife just popped up. I got a phone call from one of my cousins, and she said, come on. You know what I'm saying? And I just left. And he hit the ground running from that point on. And if you hear him say, he say, I'm on extra time right now. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people that was in that same predicament that he was in is gone. You know what I'm saying? I mean, one of our friends, David Lighty, him and my dad and his mom went to the same church, was in the same hospital, fighting the same thing. And then, Miss Lighty go and my dad be a survivor. Like, that's not easy. That's not, how it's supposed to go. You know what I'm saying? So to have that blessing of him still being here, it's hard to tell him stop kicking. It's hard to tell him stop coaching. It's hard to tell him to stop doing a lot of things, because when he did stop, a lot of things weren't running the right way.
And David Lighty, for all of our listeners who may not remember, was a standout Ohio State basketball player who was from Cleveland, was I think an underrated Ohio State basketball player during those Final Four runs.
You know what he was underrated in?
What's football. That? Football. Really?
Yeah. David Lighty played behind me my whole life from community football all the way up until he went to St. Joe's.
No kidding. Wow. What's David Lighty doing right now?
I think David Lighty might have just came back over here. But he was overseas for a long time playing basketball. I mean, he stayed around the corner from him. Like, David Lighty's a real, we went to the same church at one point in time. Like, we've been family our whole life.
And where do you see yourself 5-10 years from now? Do you see you still doing what you're doing? Do you see yourself going in a different direction? I know it's hard to look down the road, but
I mean, it's so tough for me because the history right here is so big and it's so long and it's so in depth that, there's nobody else can really take it over but me, that what my father has done. So it's kind of hard to go and put yourself in certain deals where there's something happened to him, where you got to be. You know what I'm saying? And as much love that he has for it, I have my personal love for Glenville High School or for my community that has raised me. You get what I'm saying? So right now, I do the Muni thing. I do the youth program. I have Ginn Elite, where I do football, basketball, track, and cheerleading. And I just try to give them the best outlet that I can, hand to them with the support that I have around me. You know what I'm saying? That's just like right now I have 3 teams headed to Florida. And on December 1st, they'll be playing the AYF Nationals. And they 8 years old, 10 years old, and 14 years old. You know what I'm saying? So we're looking for a lot of sponsorship in that right now. But, that's the type of joy that we have in our community that gets, like, depressed because of the car thefts, the robbing, the shooting, all the things that makes our kids look faulty or bad. We never get praised for this, to have 3 kids, 35 kids about to go to Florida to play a game that y'all think not important, but it's saving their lives. It's taking them somewhere where some of their moms can't take them, some of their dads, not looking at nobody's situation, but a game is taking you somewhere where your kid can shine for other people to see them so they can get a better opportunity in life at a young age. And now that this youth football has popped off in football like it has, it already been like that with basketball and things like that, a little bit in baseball, but the way that it just emerged in football right now, we cannot let our kids not be able to miss out on an opportunity like that, because tomorrow you don't know what brings them around here. You don't know what they go through. You get what I'm saying? So that's the best thing to do, is let this sport keep them together every day for a certain amount of time. Keep them together during the weekend for a certain amount of time. Then it takes them around the world. That's what life is about.
That's so true.
Ted, I can real quick, John. I can hear when you talk. I can hear your dad, and I'm listening to. And that's just the best compliment. I mean, I can give you, because it's like, wow, where have I heard? Wait, I heard this on our podcast last year.
Scott, I was just gonna say the same thing. It's like hearing an echo.
And that's so awesome.
Well, you see, I listened a lot. I was listening a lot,
Yeah.
but it's just the way of what we're doing. You get what I'm saying? And every way is not always right. I ain't, I can't always. I'll try to be the best person that I can be within the situation. You know what I'm saying? But my life right now is just really wife, kids. I got a daughter that run track right now. I got a 6-year-old that just jumped off the stoop. She want to run track. You know what I'm saying? I got a 30-year-old son that's trying to figure out life.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? He's not really an athlete. You know what I'm saying? So that's a difference for me as a man because I've been in the sports world my whole life. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely times where being right here is the best thing for me. You get what I'm saying? I get to be with my dad. I get to be with my mom. You got to realize, I've only been here 3 years now. I walked out here at 18, came back at 36. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And went back in the house with my mom and dad at 36. You know what I'm saying?
How was that?
Oh, it was a whirlwind. You know what I'm saying? I think we both was ready for each other to leave, But just going back in and experiencing that whole segment of being a kid, following different rules that you ain't been used to. You've been in your own home for a long time and being respectful to things that you might not have to be respectful to in your home. You know what I'm saying? So it's been a great 3 years being right here.
So, Ted, as we approach this weekend here, before we get into Ohio State, Michigan, I got to ask you a Browns question because I know you grew up a Browns fan growing up in Cleveland. You played, 14 years in the NFL? Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that 14? Man, I as a Browns and a Buckeyes fan growing up, I wanted you desperately to don the orange helmet. Before we get into your career real quick, playing with the Panthers and the Dolphins, the Saints, Niners, Cardinals, I think you ended with the Bears. Was there ever an opportunity for you to play with the Browns?
Yeah, I tried to get here.
Yeah.
I tried to get here a couple of times, but the one real time that I really tried to get here was when y'all got Dansby and Dante Whitner.
So that'd have been I'm guessing Dansby and Whitner. That was 2014, 2015, something like that.
Yep.
So that year you would that must have been between your free agent year of the Cardinals Panthers around that time.
Yep, but I was the number one slot guy. I was coming in on third down.
Mm-hmm.
And all my catches was on third down. And I came and the Browns actually called my agent and told them don't even worry about it, because all the local networks have put, y'all get the news, y'all the news.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? So y'all have put out, all the different networks, little highlights of me being, released or whatever, and just didn't work out. No hard feelings. I was able to play in the stadium. I was able to play against the Browns. I'm might be 2-2, or I might be 1-2 against the Browns.
Real quick, did you ever have a chance to go to the old stadium when you were little?
Yes.
Love to hear
I
that.
had a brick. I remember when they knocked the stadium down. So I had a brick in my garage for a long time.
Oh, cool.
Where's that brick now?
I hope it's still in there.
We gotta call Ted Sr. and ask him where that brick of the old stadium is.
We still got the garage.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
but you got to realize I played muni ball. You played at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
I never had the opportunity to play at halftime, but I played muni. We used to go there and people used to play at halftime, and the Browns was a big deal.
Yeah. What do you think about the Browns now? Deshaun Watson's done. They're in the driver's seat to, half game back as we record this behind the Ravens. What do you think they do the rest of the season? Favorable schedule going forward?
We got a great defense, which we always have. You can't never take away. Even when I played in the league, defense was always in the top 15. That's big when you're in the NFL. To be number one, number two right now on the defensive side that would really win championships. But we just figure out the quarterback situation and figure out how we want to call plays and get the right guys involved at the right time. We can really do something, especially, playing in these playoffs. And I'm not saying that we a real Super Bowl contender, you know what I'm saying? But we definitely playoff ready if we figure out what we want to do with our quarterback situation and believe in somebody and just play what they can do. I've been in that situation where you get a different guy in, or you get these couple weeks, you got this guy, and the biggest thing is just going in there as a receiver and just talking to him and asking him what you good at, what I'm good at, and we're gonna go out here and play a little backyard football right now and win a couple games. And then after a while, that coach gonna be like, "Great job." You get what I'm saying? But just really putting some support around whoever that you're gonna put in that position and doing the best that you're gonna do with them. And I see us just going as far as we can.
All right, last question. We'll let you go.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
What's up, everyone? I'm Holly Wetzel.
And I'm Tybus Powell.
And we are your hosts of The Orange is Oranger, a Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. We give you all the dog pound coverage that you'll need to get you through the regular season, hopeful postseason, and I'd say off-season, Tybus, but is there really ever an off-season for this team?
Thankfully for our podcast, Holly, there really never is when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. Don't miss our breakdown of each week's matchup, game recaps, and any and all news out of Berea to feed your Browns appetite. As we know, Holly, dogs gotta eat.
Yes, they do. So hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode of The Orange is Oranger, Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.
The R&R podcast going to be rocking and rolling with you because football season is underway. College, Ohio State, the Power Fives, the MAC, the Browns. Michael Regai, are you ready to rock and roll with some football?
Kenny, I've been ready. This is our time of year. This is what R&R is all about. We're going to be with you every week. Kenny just said it. Browns, NFL, Ohio State centric. So you got to stay with us all fall and winter long here on R&R.
That's right. The Regai and Rhoda podcast coming to you here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Subscribe now and don't miss a show.
Offensive line gives Troy plenty of time. Goes deep, Ginn's wide open, folks. Touchdown. Here we go. Option, here comes Ginn. Looking for a run. There was a great block on the edge. Look out. He's going to take it to the house, folks.
All right, big game this weekend, Ohio State against the team up north. I mean, you're probably going to watch it, I would assume. What do you think? How do you look at it? You know, what's
no
the
pressure? There's no pressure on us. We got zero pressure, even though we undefeated and different things like that. We know about our quarterback play, so we can't go in there and just be worried about that. We just need to go in there and just play football and let the best man win. You know what I'm saying? Don't worry about what didn't happen previously. Right now, on this date and this time, on this year, is about Ohio State and Michigan, and just go out there and play football. We got to stop the run. That's one thing that we're going to have to do. If we can't stop the run, then that's going to limit us of being able to have an offense on the field. You get what I'm saying? Because Jim Harbaugh is going to run it down your throat and control the clock as much as he can. And when we get the ball, we have to do the same thing. Control the ball, run the clock, and keep that fast offense from being on the field or that methodic offense from coming out. You see what they did last week? They ran, 7 or 8 run plays at the end of the game to put them guys away. That's tough. When you don't never put the ball in the air, that's tough. You kill a clock, and you heard me on my last drive. I mean, he got a game plan. So really just going out and figuring out what we're going to do with Marvin. you know what I'm saying, with the one-on-one matchups, and who else we going to get involved to be able to throw the ball to, because they they going to have a one over top linebacker looking inside. It's going to be some type of eyes on that kid all night, because that's the only person that they feel like they could beat us. But we just got to go out there and play with some heart, and don't worry about what's been happening. Worry about what's happening right now.
Don't you think, though, too, this Ohio State defense is probably the best since the 2002 national title team?
The best?
Since then?
What about that 06 defense, 05 defense?
Those good defenses. I'm not discounting those guys.
The secondary is playing awesome. Our linebacker play did change from last year, because last year I thought our linebacker players stink.
Yeah, I agree.
But our linebackers are coming up. Our front seven is playing like they used to. You know what I'm saying? We're getting sacks, we're getting pressure, we're creating turnovers. I just think we just got to go out and play as a whole. The whole thing about this whole game is when we get hit in the mouth, how do we respond? You know what I'm saying? And that's on offense and on defense. If we throw a pick, do our defense go out and respond? You know what I'm saying? If our defense get a pick, do our offense go out and respond? Being able to, not really have our trick plays work, but the plays that they think that this is what they're going to do, or our leads, our dives, or whatever it is that we run all the time, they got to work.
All right, got to put you on the spot before we let you go. Ted.
Everything goes.
Yep. All right. With that being said, who you got winning Saturday?
Ohio State.
You want to give me a score?
I'm going to go 35-24.
35-24. Ooh, a higher scoring game because the two defenses. I like it. And by the way, last thing before we let you go, sign stealing, legit. Did it impact the last 2 years? What do you think?
I don't think it impact. We all do it.
But to the extent that Michigan allegedly did?
I mean, he just got caught. I think that guy, and I'm going to keep saying this because I get this question all the time. I think that guy works with the whole league. You know what I'm saying? I think that guy worked with the whole league, and it was a way to give some controversy, and they gave it to him. Wasn't Jay Harbaugh up to get a raise or something like that? I don't know. But I just think that we overthinking it. You got people that videotape signals from, I know in the NFL, they got a guy that's going to go on there and tape every signal from the TV copy. So what's the difference?
I think the difference is in college, you're not allowed to do it. In NFL, you are allowed to do it, I guess, right?
The scouting, I just think you're not allowed to do it as far as going in person, but it's somebody to go. It's somebody that's going to scout. You just can't do it that way.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Because I don't see, and I'm just being real, I just don't see nobody in college football going no extra weeks or to no big time games, or just nobody is doing that. I just don't believe that.
Well, Ted, it has been. Now, I agree. It's kind of like baseball too. You remember with the sign stealing with the Houston Astros. Now, granted, there was a little bit different scenario, but a lot of guys didn't really want to talk too much about it because they knew they were doing the same thing in a different way.
I mean, you just watch Cam Newton tell a guy on an interview, "Oh, you think I'm going that way? Oh, you've been watching your film, you've been watching signal, and he ran a whole nother play." You get what I'm saying? So like, it can work for you or it can work against you. I think it's not a big deal. You know what I'm saying? I just think that we got to come out and play football and play Ohio State way, get down and dirty, and we up there in their house. It's gonna be tough. I know that from 05. If you don't come out and we don't have no good start, we don't come out and just jump out on them boys on offense or defense, it's gonna be a tough one for us.
Well, Ted, we're going to let you go, man. We really appreciate you coming on the podcast. You know, I tell you, give our best to your mom and dad and your family because, man, your dad is just an awesome guy. And, you know, I have so many people at the station who I've worked with for over 20 years who talk about, you know, keep your dad and hold your dad in this high regard and this Mount Olympus of people. And after meeting him, you know, we put him up there too. So, you know, give him and your family our best. And have a great Thanksgiving and just continued success with where the good Lord takes you from now all the way down the line.
No doubt, no doubt. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. And whenever you need me, hit me up.
We appreciate that, Ted. Thanks so much. We could talk football all day long with you, but we'll let you go with this one, man. Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone tuning in to this latest edition of Sabol Brothers on the Baseline podcast right here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Follow yours truly at John_Sabol. Follow the pod at Sabol Brothers on Twitter.
And you can follow me on Twitter, Scott Sabol Fox 8, and on Instagram at Scott Sabol PICS. That's Scott Sabol Picks.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Have a great Thanksgiving and go Bucks.